Instruction LS500. Here we have a couple of quotes that I think are very nice and important to introduce instruction at the library. The first one is by Samuel Green, 1876. Give them as much assistance as they need, but try at the same time to teach them to rely upon themselves to become independent. So the idea of library instruction has always been, at least for more than 100 years, that we have to make sure that our patrons become independent learners, long life learners and independent learners. We don't want our patrons to be dependent on us. We must teach them how to use the resources in our libraries, but the idea is also to make them being able to search sources and resources for themselves, either at the library or electronic resources available in the internet. The second quote is from the American Library Association, and it says, encourage all libraries to include instruction in the use of libraries as the primary goal of service. I think this is very important because reference and library instructions go hand by hand. And in every type of library, from the school library to the specialized library, we have to add a component of instruction to our patrons, to our clients, to the community that we serve. The third one is by Tuckett and Stoffel, 1994, Successful Bibliography Problem Solvers Who Learn Through Information Use. In other words, the idea here is that patrons have to have their hands on the process in order to learn. If you want to be a problem solver, an information problem solver, you have to use information. It's not a theoretical idea, it is a practical idea. Some of the theoretical approaches in library instruction are library orientation, library instruction, bibliographic instruction, and information literacy instruction. In terms of library instructions, what we are going to do, we are going to introduce the users to the services that the library provides, the resources that are available for them, the collections that also we have available for them so they can search, in terms of how the physical layout of the building, where in terms of what each floor of the building has, restrooms, water fountains, etc. Where is the children's rooms, where the collection of the young adults, etc. And also, of course, which is very important, and it's at the heart of this type of instruction, it's the organization of materials. How the materials are organized, how the collection is organized in the library. So in this library orientation, we are going to show them, for example, how to use the online catalog or the printed catalog. If we have a index card catalog, how you use the index card catalog. The second type of instruction is what we call library instruction, and here we are going to show our patrons how to use the library. Also, what are the institution specific procedures and what are the policies? And policies is down here in terms of circulation, library cards, etc., etc. And of course, we have to show them collections, okay? Because the idea here again, and as I said at the beginning of this presentation, is that we make our patrons independent library users. I think and this is my opinion again, and as you know, I have my own opinions in terms of librarianship. To me, the reference service is the core of librarianship, and within the reference service we have the reference interview, which is one focus, and the other focus is library instruction. Then comes bibliographic instruction, and here we emphasize more the location, retrieve, and access of information. We have problems, practical problems, and we have to teach them how to solve those information problems and to have critical thinking. And critical thinking is very important, and it goes here with this bullet: to identify and evaluate information sources. Not all information sources are created equal, and we have to be aware of that. We as professional librarians, and we have to make sure that our patrons know that there are some sources who have more authority than others. Okay. Another area that we teach or instruct in library instruction, in bibliographic instruction, is the principles of organization of information. For example, it's our library organized with a Dewey system, or we follow the Library of Congress system, etc., etc. How do you use an index? How do you use the OPAC? These of course, are areas that we have to explain and instruct and teach when we do bibliographic instruction. Another important area is search strategies. Especially in today's electronic world, we have to teach our patrons how to search electronic databases, how to search electronic resources, how to search in the internet. I already mentioned identify and evaluate information sources. To me, this is the key. It is very important for us as reference librarian or as librarians to teach our patrons how they can evaluate one source from another. Remember, and this is very important, I think, and this is part of my own experience working as a reference librarian. Patrons, students, professors, the community in general, they have real informational problems. Let's call it informational problems. So we as professionals have to do what it is within our limits and our limitations, and we have talked about limitations. We have to solve those informational problems. They are real problems. Okay, so it is very important that we help them to identify and evaluate information sources, because the idea here, and this goes to the first quote that I read, is that they become independent lifelong learners. By the way, we have to be independent lifelong learners too. Much of how I teach my classes is with the idea that you as students are already or are currently working in libraries, or will be working in libraries or information centers or specialized libraries or in industry, but you will have to keep yourself up to date. You will have to be you will have to be a lifelong learner. That's the whole idea of this of my focus on how I teach my classes. Another very important area that we can, or component of our teaching when we do bibliographic instruction, is how to manage information. And this is especially relevant in today's informational environment. Why? And I have talked about this before, because we have many, we have hundreds and hundreds of information sources, and we can get information from different environments: electronic information, printed information, electronic databases, the internet, etc. So teaching and learning ourselves how to manage that information is very important. Another area, of course, is information literacy instruction. And here, what we have to emphasize is learn how to learn. I think we could see this as of going from the more basic instruction to the more advanced instruction. Here we have to know, or we have to teach, or we have to let our students know how information is organized, understanding the organization of information, how to find information, how to search for information. Use, share, disseminate information to help others. We have to teach them how to use, how to share, how to disseminate information, how they can help others. Creation of information and knowledge, and this is very important. And what I have said before, it's how to become lifelong learners. And I think in this preceding slide I was talking about the information environment, the information society, and the knowledge society. In one of my preceding lectures, I was telling you how complicated the information environment is, and this is something that we have to take into account, and that's why I think information specialists, information managers, librarians will become and are becoming more relevant in today's society, because now the problem is not to find information. Sometimes now the problem is that we find too much information, and the idea here that we have to I guess we have to refocus our career is how you select relevant and pertinent information, how you filter and select information that is going to help you or is going to help the patron to solve the information problem. Here we have some of the principles, I guess, or standards from the American Association of School Librarians, and these are the standards for the 21st century learner. The number one, inquiry, think critically, and gain knowledge. 2, draw conclusions, make informed decisions, apply knowledge to new situations, and create new knowledge. And this is, I think, this is a wonderful idea, that we don't only, or what I mean by we, I mean we as a community. I mean all of us. Professionals and non-professionals, librarians and the community. I mean all of us. We are creators of information. We are living a great time, because now we understand that every human being is a creator of information. I mean, that has always been the case in the past, but we didn't realize that. We thought that only educated or cultured people or were creators of information. Now we realize that every human being is creating information. So we are creating information, and we should aim at creating new knowledge. Of course, we create information, but we create misinformation, etc., etc. The idea here is that we have to aim at creating information and creating new knowledge. New knowledge meaning information with sense, information with context within a discipline. Another very important idea or principle or standard is shared knowledge. Dissemination and sharing of information and knowledge is at the heart of our society today. It's what we do. We have to communicate, and we have to disseminate, and we have to share information and knowledge. Of course, we have to participate ethically and productively as members of our democratic society. And here is, in my opinion, again, and in my life experience, here we have a key word, and here we have a principle that that applies to our society. We are in a democratic society. Therefore, we have to create information, we have to create knowledge, we have to share that information and that knowledge, and we have to disseminate that information and that knowledge because we are active participants in today's society. By the way, and this is my personal view, we are so lucky to be here in the U.S. because we are able to do that. Many other societies don't let you disseminate your own ideas, or they don't even let you create new ideas because information is control. Here we are free to create, we are free to innovate, and we are free to share. So what I hope for everyone who has the opportunity to live here in America is that we do it in a productive way, that we do something that it benefits other people. We must take this opportunity to share information that is valuable, to share knowledge that is valuable for the good of other individuals and for the good of society. We have to another standard is pursuing personal and aesthetic growth. What are some of the assumptions that we must take when we do library instruction? Well, with number one, emphasis change from teaching to the process of learning, and this is very important, and sometimes it's difficult to do, even for me. How do we change the idea that we have to teach to the process of learning? But this is basic, because again, the focus here is not how good of a teacher I am, but how are we all learning together. This is what sometimes I try to do, and I don't do it successfully. But my idea of being a professor is not teaching; it's about learning. Okay, and this is something that we have to be able to focus. Citizens in this information environment means able to access and evaluate information sources efficiently and independently. Again, able to access and evaluate information sources efficiently and independently. That's very important. That's one of the key components of being a citizen in today's information environment. And we have to tie this to what I was saying before in terms of creating information and knowledge that benefits other individuals and the community at large. Another one is information and knowledge are two of the most important variables today for the individual and for the collective success. And we know that to be true today, that without information and without knowledge, there is not development, there is not advancement. We are, if we don't have those two variables, we are stuck. So the idea is to realize that in order to be a better society, we have to have information and we have to have knowledge, and we have to be able to share, disseminate, and communicate that information and that knowledge. More specialized information demands cannot be handled by traditional reference service, and this is something that we have to incorporate. Okay, by traditional reference services we mean giving answers to our patrons. But when we realize that there are more specific and more specialized information demands, we realize that the patron the patron and the professional, or the client and the professional, or the member of the community and the professional information manager or librarian, they have to become partners. It's impossible anymore that you as a reference librarian can answer all the questions and know all the answers. No, you have to become a partner of a partner on reference with your patron. Because if you don't become a partner with the patron, then you won't be able to get to those more specialized demands. For the easy questions, for the ready reference questions, yes, you may be able to answer those questions. But when the patron or when the member of the community comes with a complicated, specialized question, you have to become he has to become or she has to become your partner, so you both can answer the questions. And of course, you have to make that clear to the information seeker. Okay. Especially I have experienced this when I have worked as a reference librarian in academic libraries, and when my client is a professor, then you know that what the information that person is looking for is not ready reference. No, we're talking more about more specialized type of reference. So instruction becomes the key here. Okay. The goal is learning, and the method is teaching. And we already mentioned something about how we have to focus on learning, and that's the goal. Citizens work in independent and self-directed ways. So the idea here of our instruction, of our library instruction, library orientation, bibliographic instruction, and information literacy instruction is to make members of the community independent, responsible, lifelong learners. Instructional design, the process of developing and implementing instruction. And of course, this all or most of the lecture comes from your textbook. So please make sure you read your textbook so you can add more information to what I'm saying today. Needs assessment, goals and objective, instructional content, learning theories, learning styles, instructional methods, instructional materials, evaluation and assessment, and administration and management of instruction. Let's go to the first one, needs assessment. Needs assessment. Need a discrepancy between actual conditions or state and a desired standard. So that discrepancy is what we need to learn from what is the actual condition and what it is the desired standard. So that discrepancy from the actual condition and the standard, it's what we need to teach. It's what we need to overcome. Secondly, understanding the user needs, collecting information. How are we going to understand what the need is? Well, of course, there are already published a lot of literature on user needs. So we can do literature reviews, we can do surveys, we can do observation, we can do testing, we can study website traffic patterns, we can interview, and we can have focus groups. Why? To learn what we need to teach and what we need to learn at the same way, at the same moment. So remember, this is about teaching, but the focus is about learning. So we need to assess what our community needs, and there are many ways to assess, to collect that information. And some of the ways are by literature reviews, surveys, observation, testing, website, traffic patterns, interviews, and focus group. So in our library, one of the things that we have to spend some time on is discovering what needs to be taught, what we and the community needs to learn, what we need to learn. Second, goals and objective. Desired learning outcomes or results of learning. What are those objectives? Objective for information literacy instruction, a model statement for academic library. And this is only a model, but that it is very important. This is from ALA, of course. Standard number 1. The information literate student determines the extent of the information needed. Again, the emphasis is on the patron, on the student. 2. The information literate student accesses needed information effectively and efficiently. That's what we have to, these are our goals, these are our objectives. This is a model of goals and objectives that can be applied also to the general population. Number 3, the information literate student evaluates information. To me, that's a key today, and its sources critically, and incorporates selected information into his or her knowledge base and value system. And the key here is evaluation of information. The information literate student, individually or as a member of a group, uses information effectively and accomplish a specific purpose. Again, these are what we have to aim at. The information literate student understands many of the economic, legal, and social issues surrounding the use of information and access and uses of information ethically and legally. Of course, it is very important in terms of copyright, intellectual property, etc., etc., etc. The idea here is that our goal is to make of our patron, of our information seeker, an active, critically informed citizen. In terms of instructional content, what are we going to teach? Well, we have declarative content, information that describes and tells what something is. Okay, if we're going to talk about the OPAC, well, we have to describe what the OPAC is. Okay, procedural content, information and about how something is done. How do you search the OPAC? This is procedural content. And conditional content is when we combine both. When we use what is the OPAC for and how we search for resources. And this, of course, is an example. Learning theories. And here, of course, I'm sure some or many of you are education majors and you know more than me about learning theories. Okay, but we have 3 theories here. The first one is the behavioral approach and the learner response to positive or negative reinforcement. To me, this is a very basic theory, and I think we in today's world we have advanced more than this behavioral approach. The cognitive approach, knowledge is formed through experience. Learning is a process. Knowledge is given. In other words, you acquire information, and that information becomes knowledge through the experience. This is a more complicated assumption or theory or approach because we understand that human beings are complicated beings, are complex, not complicated, complex beings. Finally, and this is my own approach, and this is not, it's not my own approach, I'm sorry, this is the approach that I take, is a constructive approach. And experience and reflection. Knowledge is constructed internally. Individuals construct their own understanding of the world. I believe that every human being constructs a reality. How is that reality construct? Exactly, I don't know, but I know that it is constructed through knowledge, through experience, through information, through emotion, etc., etc., through time. And each of us construct a reality. By the same token, we construct knowledge internally. When I give you the information that I'm giving you today, for example, each of you will will have the same information that I'm giving. However, because of your own background, because of your own emotions, you will construct knowledge differently. So in my opinion, and not in my opinion, I take the constructive approach. I believe in the constructive approach. You don't have to believe in the constructive approach. You may believe in the behavioral approach, that knowledge is a knowledge is a given, and the learner will respond positive or negative. Will respond to positive and negative reinforcement, and that there is not an alternative, or there are not alternative realities. I believe in alternative realities. I don't believe in one reality. I think the behavioral approach takes the one reality approach. Okay, this is the truth, and that's it. There's not discussion, and you will react to positive or negative reinforcement. I take the more constructive approach, that I'm going to give you my information, I'm going to give you my opinion, I try to communicate my knowledge to you, but you will construct your own knowledge. That's the way I teach. I may be wrong, but I follow the constructive approach. Of course, you when you teach, you are welcome to follow your own approach. Another important aspect that we have to understand, another component of teaching and learning, is that there are learning styles, and individuals learn differently. Some are, for example, field dependent, and they learn by observing, they seek guidance, and like to learn in groups. Others are field independent. They learn through questions and answers, they work alone, and they are analytical in problem solving. And there may be other individual styles. These are two. For example, another way to see it, this problem about learning styles is like in this slide. Concrete perceivers absorb information through direct experience. Abstract perceivers absorb information through analysis. Active processors make sense of an experience by immediately using the new information. And reflective processors make sense of an experience by reflecting and thinking about it. Of course, I don't know if each of you can place yourself in one of the four categories, because we may be concrete perceivers, but at the same time we may be abstract perceivers, or active processors, or reflective processors. Again, these are models. Of course, they are never. We human beings are very complex. We are not one-dimensional beings, so we may have a little bit of each. However, what is important is that when we prepare a workshop for our community, for our patrons, for the information seekers, we take into account that we have to use several techniques. So if the group of people that is in learning from us, if they have different learning styles, and they will. There will be something for each learning style, and they will be able to learn. Because what we have to understand, and I think this is what it is most important, it is about learning, it's not about teaching. Okay? And here we have some of the instructional methods that we use when we teach. Lectures, like today, I'm doing one directional. Why? Because I'm talking here and there's no interaction. Not little, there is no interaction. I am giving you a large amount of information, and of course I can modify the content very easily because I'm in total control of today's presentation. However, there are other instructional methods, and that's what we do in the discussion board. There I even have the non-graded discussion boards when I let you. It's a free place. It is for discussion. You can say whatever you want, and you are entitled to your opinion. Okay, and so here, and it is not like it says here, instructor center. I think the way I emphasize my instructional method, it's student center. The discussion boards, especially the non-graded board, is student center. I may interact sometimes, but the idea is that you interact with each other. And why do I do that? Because remember, I take the constructive approach. I let you make up your own knowledge. Okay, but discussion. There may be the instructor center. An example may be the one that I use in the graded forum, because I direct the conversation. It's group center. It's collaborative. Share and build knowledge in a collective experience. It requires more time, and of course, and this is very true, it requires that you as a learner be active. You have to be critical and be active. If you as a learner are not active, then discussions are not going to work. Another way to instruct, which is very effective, is the demonstration. And this is especially true for when you want your group of learners to learn how to search, for example, how to do a search using an academic database or electronic database, how to use the OPAC, etc. You have to have a demonstration. And here the instructor performs a skill or a process. It requires concrete explanations, and it requires equipment and technology. If I'm going to teach, I'm going to demonstrate how to use how to search in a database, in an academic database. I need the technology, and I need the computer, and I need to be connected to that database so I can do my demonstration. It requires a sequence, and this is very important. You have to demonstrate, then you have to explain, then you may have questions and answers, and you may repeat again. Okay, let's do another search. And finally, you have to let the students do the same. And that's what we call replication. They have to do a search too. Remember, this is very valuable for your final project, because what you're doing is instruction. So think about learning styles, think about instructional methods, and think about learning theories or learning approaches. Active learning, that's another way here. It provides time to process information. It combines instructional methods. This is a very effective way to teach anything, because you do lecture, you do discussion, you do demonstration, and you discuss again. Okay, it's more complicated, it takes more time, but it gives more opportunity for every individual to learn what you're trying to teach. And there is collaborative learning, and the assumptions here is active learning, constructive process, learning styles are diverse. These are the assumptions that you take in collaborative learning. Learning is a social activity. positive interdependence, small groups, face-to-face communication when possible. If not, it has to be online communication. And here we have individual responsibility. Each one is responsible, but there is also a shared responsibility by the group. Instructional materials, and this is what also will be in your final project. But some of the materials that you can create are guides, worksheets, videotapes, tutorials, websites, textbooks, online tutorials, wikis, etc. These are some examples of instructional materials that we can create to what? To do what? To make sure our information seekers become critical and independent lifelong learners. Handouts, stand-alone instructional materials, informative step-by-step instruction to support a task, things to consider, of course, content, audience, relationship with other instructional material, permanence, and design. It is very important that we consider for content and audience. Okay, if you're going to do a handout, you have to know your audience. It's not the same to do a handout for children that for old adults. Another material, of course, is exercise and assignments. It provides the learner the opportunity to practice a new set of skills. This is the idea about doing homework. Okay? And this is my approach about doing homework. Giving you the opportunity to practice a new skill. The homeworks are not for me. The homeworks are for you to practice. Okay? It provides the learner the opportunity to practice a new set of skills. Things to consider: content, activities required in sync with learning objectives. So, you teach a learning objective, then you assign a homework. Realistic expectations: complexity of activities required in sync with audience. Again, you just as the handout, when you do an exercise or an assignment, you have to take into account content and audience. What you have to expect will be directly related with your audience. And feedback indicate if feedback will be provided or not. Okay, and that's how much feedback are you going to provide to the exercise. Sometimes it's a good idea to provide profound and long feedback. Sometimes it is not necessary. Instructional materials, instructional technology. Learning requires action, interaction, and application. And one example is online instruction. We have social media, we have online classrooms, we have wikis, we have online exercise, online demonstration. For example, in many classes I use the wiki to practice citation. Or in my class, I'm teaching a class, when I teach the indexing class, we use the wiki to practice indexing. Okay? The idea here is that each one of us will practice his own indexing in the wiki. Okay? Because it requires action and interaction with the instructor and with the other students or with the other participants. Finally, there is evaluation and assessment, and the purpose is to improve instruction for the benefit of the learner. And the idea here, of course, is not grading, and especially if you're in a library setting. If you are teaching a workshop, or you are teaching a library orientation, or library instruction, or bibliographic instruction, or information literacy instruction, you are not there to grade anybody. The idea here is to improve your own teaching, so the next group can benefit from your teacher, and they can learn. Some of the instruments that we use are tests, satisfaction surveys, very important. A quick assessment is called the minute paper or the Modius Bond. The minute paper, what was the most important thing that you learned? They have to answer that in less than a minute, because you want to make sure that what they learn and the goal that you and your objective are the same. If they learn something differently, then you have to change your teaching, or you have to change your objective to make sure that the goal it's equal to what your group thinks that they learn. Okay, then you have to align or realign that, and then you will have to change your instructional methods, or you will have to change your instructional materials, because they are not learning what you feel it is the most important thing for them to learn. If you're doing a workshop on searching, electronic searching, you have to make sure that the information seekers, the students, the group that is taking your workshop will learn how to do electronic search. Okay, if they don't, then there is something wrong with your teaching, not with the learning. Okay, or the Modius Bond, what was least clear to you. And again, what you find out is that the least clear point was what your goal was, then you have to rethink your instructional methods, your instructional materials, your assignments, the learning styles, and the way you teach. Okay, because something is wrong here. So this is very important that you assess what you are teaching. And again, the assessment is not for it's not to grade the learner. The assessment is to improve the quality of instruction, because you, again, in the library setting, you are not grading the participants in your workshop. No, that's not the point. The assessment is to see how can you improve your teaching. And how can you improve your teaching? Well, the only way to know what you have to improve is you have to ask the participants of the workshop, or the participants of the instruction. And one way to do that is by testing them. Let's say you do a demonstration on electronic search, and then you assign a informational problem that they have to search and see if they can find information. That's one way to test. And another one is, of course, a satisfaction survey, and you can do also quick assessment, or you can do the 3 techniques and other techniques too, or you can ask them. Okay. Okay, finally we have administration and management of instruction, and this is of course specific to your institution, to your library or information center. It refers to the structure. For example, who is going to do the instruction? Is there an instruction department? Is a reference librarian in charge of instruction? In the places that I have worked for, it was a reference librarian. In my case, was in charge of instruction. So I would go to the classroom and do my library instruction, or with a specific tasks. Normally, the program would be, for example, there would be an orientation with general objective, and of course library orientation, library instruction, and then we had specific workshops such as electronic search, journal search, peer review articles, etc. And then and in my case, we at the university where I was a reference librarian, we did course related instruction. So I was invited to the class with instructor, and I would teach a workshop on how to search electronic databases. Another scheme or another model could be course integrated instruction, and there you have team teaching with instructor and the reference librarian. So in general terms, administration and management of instruction will depend on your own organization. Okay, if you are in a public library or if you're in an academic library or school library, there will be a different format on how instruction is organized and delivered. Thank you.